Governor Sherrill of New Jersey just admitted that hundreds of ballots were cast illegally in the state's elections. Seriously, just think about this. For years, the Democrats have told us that President Trump's claims about voter and election fraud are totally fake, right? There is absolutely no substance to them. Yet just this afternoon, we found out from the governor of New Jersey herself that not only were there almost 7,000 non-citizens on their voter rolls, but enough of them actually voted to potentially change the outcome of elections. Take a look at this.
In June of 2023, nearly 3 years before I became governor, a serious software error in New Jersey's motor vehicle system led to the improper voter registration of what we believe to be roughly 6,600 people in our state. When New Jerseyans applied for a driver's license or identification at the MVC, they were asked if they wanted to register to vote. In the case of this error, some individuals indicated that they weren't citizens and weren't eligible to vote, but the software registered them anyway.
Okay, as if it's not bad enough that almost 7,000 non-citizens were added to New Jersey's voter rolls, not to mention the fact that it took over 3 years for this computer error to be discovered and therefore rectified, it turns out that a large number of those people actually followed through. Yeah, about 400 ballots were cast illegally in New Jersey. Obviously, we live in a time where there's a lot of concern about election integrity. Many elections, in fact, are decided by a hair. We all remember what happened in Florida in 2000. Of course, there was Georgia in 2020, where Joe Biden supposedly won by 11,000 votes. So every vote truly matters, and there is no room for error. There is no room for non-citizens' illegal, fraudulent ballots, no matter what you want to call it. And coincidentally, it was only after these non-citizens were added to the voter rolls, it was only after they were allowed to vote, that New Jersey's 25th district flipped from Republican to Democrat. That's right, a Democrat has never won New Jersey's 25th district. According to this, Sweeney, a Democrat, leads two-term Republican incumbent Christian Barranco by 664 votes after roughly 243 vote-by-mail ballots were counted earlier that day. Now, some of you may be saying, well, if the Democrat won by 664 votes, that's a lot larger than 400, so it can't just be those 400 fraudulent or non-citizen voters. But keep in mind what Sherrill actually admitted in her speech. All of these non-citizens and subsequently the illegal fraudulent ballots were just the result of one instance in 1 month, June 2023. So what other instances have yet to be discovered or disclosed to the public? It really makes you wonder, right? And so even though if the numbers don't line up, it really starts painting a bad picture for the Democrats because, like I said, as Democratic victory in the 25th district would make history, no Democrat has won that assembly seat at any point since the map was adopted in 1973. And isn't the timing of this disclosure really peculiar, right? I think it's really curious that Democrats, the media, they say, oh, there's no evidence of voter fraud. Oh, President Trump has absolutely no evidence. That is the key phrase that they keep repeating over and over and over. Yet, out of all the times that Sherrill could have come forward and said, hey, we found non-citizens, hey, we found illegal ballots, she just happens to do so within the same week? Within a week of President Trump's speech on election security? What are the odds? There are 365 days a year, 52 weeks in a year. She could have given this speech any other time, yet somehow it's within 7 days of President Trump's primetime address. Really makes you wonder, is New Jersey under the pressure here? By the way, it wasn't just the 25th district. There were also fewer than 300 votes that separated Republicans and Democrats in New Jersey's 2nd district. So these numbers discovered from June 2023 alone could have had a major impact on New Jersey's election results. Now, don't be surprised if the Democrats start moving the goalpost here, right? First, they claim, oh, there's absolutely no evidence of voter fraud. There's absolutely no evidence of non-citizens on voter rolls or voting. Well, now that it's undeniable, now that a Democrat governor in a Democrat state has come forward and said, oh, actually, we found almost 7,000 instances. We found almost 400 who actually voted. keep in mind, again, this is one instance in 1 month from 3 years ago. What else are they going to find? Well, they're going to say, oh, it's just a minor number. Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, it's not enough to change the outcome of an election. And that's why I showed you those clips, to debunk those talking points before the left even brings it up. Well, during her speech itself, talk about irony. Mikey Sherrill is talking about, well, we found all of these numbers, yet President Trump has absolutely no credibility. He has absolutely no proof to his claim. You just proved President Trump's point. You proved it almost 7,000 times. You cannot make this stuff up.
I am ensuring that we protect our elections. Let me be clear. Donald Trump has zero credibility on the issue of election integrity. For the past 10 years, he's cried wolf and peddled bizarre conspiracy theories about fraud with no evidence. I saw the consequences of Trump's lies on January 6th. I was in the Capitol when he and his followers tried to steal the election and put the lives of hundreds of members of our law enforcement at risk. Trump could care less about the actual integrity of the process. His only concern is himself. Right now, his administration is defunding federal election security programs, while his hand-picked Supreme Court threatens voting rights at every turn. He spent the past year redrawing the map to win his party more seats in Congress, all while pushing the biggest voter suppression bill in history.
Talk about uneducated. Just talk about out of touch. She wants to talk about a hand-picked Supreme Court. Yes, I get that the Senate has to confirm nominations, but since when was the Supreme Court not hand-picked by any president? She can't even get her facts straight there. It is an absolute joke, for her to be saying, oh, there's absolutely no evidence, there's absolutely no credibility for President Trump. I'm sorry, ma'am, your own speech actually gave more credibility to what he was saying. And the point I'm trying to really hammer home here is, if you found this from this 1 month, what else has been going on all those other months, all those other years, if not decades? There have been many questions. So yeah, it is an absolute joke. And again, the timing for me is just really, I think it's more than coincidence for her. It's almost like Gavin Newsom, right, in California. We had no idea that his wife and her connections to all of these nonprofits were being investigated by the DOJ until Newsom himself tried to get out in front of it. And he said, oh, I'm being politically persecuted. Well, it turns out the investigation started under Joe Biden, but that's a topic for another video, and I covered that when it first broke. But I think it's the same thing here. In that, New Jersey's governor is trying to get ahead of a scandal. I think that's why she gave this presser. It completely came out of the blue. And the timing, not only is this coming after President Trump's speech, but a speech that wasn't covered as much as Trump's was actually DHS Secretary Mullin's, where he outlined hundreds of thousands of non-citizens on voter rolls, and he actually gave a state-by-state breakdown. And again, this was just a few days ago, and he actually sent letters to the state's attorney generals. It really makes you wonder, how connected is all of this?
So first of all, Department of Homeland Security, we've identified 250,000 non-citizens registered to vote in just 4 states. Mind you, we have 46 other states. And just 4 states, we've identified 250,000 non-citizens registered to vote in California, and Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Nevada. We also worked with proactive states to identify 28,000 non-citizens on their voter rolls, plus 400,000 individuals that are still registered to vote that are deceased. Now, these 23 states, they proactively worked with us on the SAVE program. That's Georgia, Ohio, Tennessee, Texas, North Carolina, Idaho, Alabama, Missouri, Louisiana, Kansas, Arkansas, Wyoming, Montana, Iowa, Florida, South Dakota, Indiana, Arizona, South Carolina, Utah, Nebraska, Michigan, and my great home state of Oklahoma.
Now, shortly after his speech, he actually sent these letters again to those 4 states: Jersey, California, Pennsylvania, and Nevada. This one is to the Secretary of New Jersey, and he reveals there may be as many as 35,152 non-citizens on New Jersey's voter rolls. And you'll notice here at the very bottom, please contact DHS by July 30th, 2026. And so, I think it's interesting that she gave this speech today. It's within the timeline, a few days after they were reached out to by DHS, and 9 days before that deadline. Is this Mikey Sherrill attempting to comply with the Trump administration and maybe, clean her hands, make sure that she's absolved or of any wrongdoing? I don't know. I'm not making any accusations here. I'm just theorizing, and I think that similar to Gavin Newsom, she's trying to get ahead of this, and I think that's what this stunt today was all about. Now, despite the fact that almost 7,000 voters on their voter rolls who shouldn't be there, hundreds of ballots cast that shouldn't have been cast, the media is still claiming, President Trump has absolutely no credibility. Let's not forget, this is the narrative that they're spreading on CNN.
The Republicans here are talking about a solution to a non-existent problem. Again, Jake, to make it very clear, this country does not have a problem of election security in any measurable level, and certainly not based on people coming from other countries.
Right, it happens, but at very, very minuscule numbers. It's not a serious threat when it comes to election security. It happens, but very seldom.
Vanishingly small. I mean, it's so small that it's just beyond.
In real time, you can see them changing the goalposts. On the one hand, it doesn't happen. It's just vanishingly small. It makes no difference. Yet I showed you 2 examples: the 25th district in New Jersey, the 2nd district in New Jersey, which could have been changed by those 400 voters alone. It really makes you wonder. Again, just one instance, 2023, June 2023. What other months, what other instances have yet to be discovered and disclosed to the public? And the media is claiming that this is just about the election, but let's not forget the Trump administration has all been about rooting out fraud, waste, and abuse. And so we're doing that with our elections, but they're actually just doing it with all things that have to do with fraud and waste. In fact, they stopped, just today it was announced that the federal government is stopping over $1 billion in Medicaid payments to the states of Minnesota and California because of fraud. But before we get into that, I would like to acknowledge the members of today's Governor's Club. They are Bob, RL1401, very generous, thank you. Shannon Miller, Moonfairy 11, Peach Street Scruffett, Dennis Nevin, Mick Trim, and Don Frank. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I'm glad that you're here and glad that you enjoy. Well, on the HHS website, they made this announcement: California, Minnesota, pending review of high-risk claims in crackdown on fraud. And so, they said they're not going to release $1 billion unless they cooperate and try to help the federal government stop fraud. So if this really was, we want to capture our elections, we want to nationalize elections and steal it from Democrats and make sure that Republicans hold on to power, if it really was about that, then why is the administration cracking down on Medicaid fraud? I think the fact that the administration is trying to save taxpayer money, is trying to make sure that taxpayer money is only going to its rightful beneficiaries, I think that showcases, that really proves where the intent of the administration is, and that is stopping and preventing fraud in all aspects. This is Secretary RFK Jr. Talking more about that.
And we have reason to believe that taxpayer money is being misused, especially through fraud. We have a duty to stop the payments, demand answers, and then follow the evidence wherever it leads. If Governor Gavin Newsom or Governor Tim Walz wants this funding released, all they have to do is provide basic documentation showing that these services are legitimate and not fraudulent. And that's common sense. But the Biden administration abandoned that kind of oversight. Instead of protecting your money, they opened the floodgates to theft. They dismantled basic program integrity and oversight.
I rest my case. If it really appeared that Trump was just trying to hold on to power and trying to help Republicans hold on to power forever, I don't think they would be as invested in saving taxpayer dollars and making sure that government programs are efficient and that there is no waste, fraud, and abuse in government. Yet they are focused on this in many different aspects. Of course, it's not just Medicare, Medicaid. It's also when it comes to military spending, when it comes to USAID. There are so many different examples of this, and voter integrity, election integrity is just one other example. As always, though, all of this is just my analysis and commentary. That's what's happening in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So what do you think? Do you think Governor Mikey Sherrill of New Jersey just made this speech because they discovered all of this information and she wants to be transparent? Or do you think the walls are closing in on the Democrats? Let me know your thoughts, your predictions, your own analysis down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.